Hi, I'm Shiprotham. I am the creator of the 7-Step Vortex program. Okay, I'm here to tell you guys a few things about the 3 stages of pranayama. I don't know if you've heard about the 3 stages of pranayama, but these are the 3 symptoms that a person practicing pranayama experiences along their practice. So what am I talking about? Well, have you ever noticed how you sweat initially when you're practicing pranayama? Maybe you do and maybe you don't. But certainly when I began practicing, I used to sweat quite regularly when I used to practice. And I just thought that this is associated with, exercise and the body heating up, all of that physiological stuff. But guess what? When I started studying the ancient texts such as Shiva Samhita, the Hatha Yoga Garanda Samhita, I found out that I'm actually experiencing a certain stage on my journey towards the highest stage in practicing pranayama. So the first stage, for example, is a stage where you perspire, you sweat. And in the ancient text Shiva Samhita, it is recommended that you take that sweat that you have perspired and rub it onto your body. Now, there's a reason behind this because there is a belief among athletes that after you finish a session, a very intense session at the gym or at the track, you put on clothes quickly, or you don't take a shower immediately, or you don't go out into the wind and get dried immediately. That's because sweat and the water brings down your body temperature rapidly, and that's not really good for your health. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why in that text it is recommended that when you perspire, you rub it onto your body. Perspiration or sweating is the first stage when you practice pranayama. The second stage is when you start shivering or quivering. The shivering happens because you are now able to draw in more breath than usual, and your nerves are being pushed out of the comfort zone and they are being pushed into a place where they have not been before. Your ability to expand your lungs and to absorb all of that prana has doubled up from since when you started sweating. So what happens at this stage is that you start shivering, you start quivering, and this is just a sign that you have gone up a level, and it's called stage 2. Your nerves learn to absorb and contain that extra bit of prana, the life force energy, that cosmic life force energy. And before you practice pranayama at this stage, it is recommended that you practice mudras or locks to lock in that extra prana that you're able to breathe in now. In the third stage, what happens is that you have these beautiful feelings of bliss. You feel that you are really able to breathe in the prana. You feel like you are really able to absorb this pranic energy and really utilize it. You are really able to feel the vitality get inside your body, and you're literally tasting breath. This is the third stage. This is when you feel a lot of bliss and you feel a lot of contentment. You feel what is called ananda, or bliss or joy. Now at this stage, what also happens is that you start to lose appetite, and that's not exactly a bad thing. It's just that your ability to absorb nutrition or energy from the air via your breathing becomes so much more enhanced that you don't need that extra bit of nutrition or energy from food. And so, your appetite reduces, your excretion reduces, your thirst reduces, and your perspiration reduces. So, it becomes quite evident that when you reach the final stage of pranayama, you have reached such a high stage of physiological control and efficiency that you no longer have to consume food in excess and do anything in excess. You have become a very efficient organism. Now let's discuss what happens at the intellectual level and at the mental level when you practice pranayama, and what happens during the first stage, the second stage, and the third stage. So, like I told you, in the first stage, what happens is that you start sweating. At this stage, it's your body that is getting prepped up. Your mind might not be touched as much, but your body is really, getting up there. It's getting ready. It's getting all this prana in, and it's feeling, tough, and there's a lot more energy that's come into the body. And the this property of tamas, or inertia or laziness, starts to disappear. This is what happens at the first stage. In the second stage, when you start shivering, when you practice pranayama, what happens is that it's your intellectual and your mental body that is affected. What happens is that your breathing becomes finer, and you are able to breathe in a lot more than usual. And you're able to think for longer periods of time. You're able to hold on to a subject, a thought, for a longer period of time without getting tired. Okay? That's what happens when you reach the second stage. So when you reach the second stage, you will know that you are at the second stage when you're able to think for longer periods of time, and when there is more clarity in that process of thinking. When you reach the third stage, what happens is that there is no more thinking. There is no longer that much of an emphasis on your physiology or your psychology. Not as much. It still is. It's just that it goes to a next level. There is a massive leap. As I already mentioned, your sweating reduces, your appetite reduces, sleep reduces, excretion reduces. Those are the physiological symptoms. Mentally, you become so blissful. You become a very blissful person. You feel much more pleasant. You are much more calm and grounded. You become like the ocean. You become very vast and very well contained. In the last stage, what is affected is your consciousness, where you as a practitioner become more aware of its dimensions. You start to see consciousness not as a part of yourself, but really an extended part of everybody. And you get to know that consciousness is not just about you, but the same consciousness that is in you exists in everybody. And so when you reach the last stage of pranayama, when you feel these huge amounts of bliss, when you really start to bliss out, what happens is that your consciousness undergoes a transformation. Your consciousness, which before was turbulent, which before was agitated, which before wasn't as refined, now becomes more refined. It becomes more calm. It becomes more contained. And you're able to draw in a lot more conscious power. And I mean conscious, as in you are able to consciously draw in more power through the universe. Now, here's the thing about the third stage and what makes it special. When you read the scriptures, there's a lot of things that don't make sense to the ordinary person who is not familiar with esoteric terms and symbology. There's something called drinking of Pran. The meaning of drinking Pran does not mean that you actually gulp in Pran. What it actually means is that you absorb Pran, or your ability to absorb life force energy is so heightened, is so powerful, and is so penetrative that compared to a person who does not do pranayama, you will find that you just have to take in, say, half a liter of oxygen compared to another person who has to take a liter. You become that efficient. Your brain functions at a higher level. Now, there's a lot to talk about in terms of consciousness and how it's affected in the third stage, but I believe that it's more about doing and experiencing. And so what I did is that I created a 7-step Vortex program to allow you to experience at a deeper level what it means to connect to higher consciousness, to reach the third stage by stage, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Okay, I don't want to go too much into talk. I want you to experience it. And so, if you really want to go to stage 3, you want to experience that cosmic bliss. You want to get what took 15 years of practice for me. You want that to happen in a few months' time, then you should definitely check out the 7-step Vortex program. Vortex is because vortexes are your chakras. And so I designed the program so that you don't have to go through what I went through, 15 years of practice. I have condensed all of those 15 years of practice for what it'll take you to experience these stages of pranayama much more faster and more progressively. Stage 1, you sweat. Stage 2, you start quivering, you start shivering. And stage 3 is cosmic bliss. And I thought, let me just do this video because someone had commented, someone had asked me, hey, I'm sweating when I'm doing stage 2 and stage 3 of the 7-step Vortex program. Is this incorrect? Am I doing something wrong? And I said, no, that's not wrong. That's perfectly all right. You are experiencing stage 1 of pranayama, which is the stage of perspiration. So if you want to check out more, subscribe to this channel because there's a lot more to come. And that's it from me, Shaprotim. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.